I don't care how bad it is. You could be binge drinker every night of the week, or you could have 1 to 2 glasses a night. No matter where you are, it's not about how much you're drinking, it's about how you feel once you remove it. The feeling of waking up every day as the same person you took to bed the night before. No embarrassment, no shame, no regret, no checking your text messages, no checking your bank account to see how much you spent. I did not want to be a 51-year-old woman on a slew of medication because I couldn't give up my drink. When we remove this substance from our life, a lot of things come into clear focus.
All right, guys. Hey, I have Melissa McGovern here today, also known as the Sober New Yorker. You can find her on Instagram and other places. We'll get to that. Melissa, you are an alcohol coach, licensed or certified,
Correct.
and
Yep.
you have your own podcast as well.
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks
And-
for having me today, Megan. I'm
Yes.
excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So you bring a wealth of experience. You're kind of go back to August 2023 when you stopped drinking. And you mentioned the gray area drinking.
Yes. I call myself a gray area drinker. And I feel like the definition of that is I did not have these external consequences in my drinking, right? I didn't have any DUIs. I didn't lose my job. My relationships were intact with my husband, my family, my friends. It was the inner struggle that I was going through. And when I made the decision to remove it, it was a combination of what I was feeling mentally and the physical diagnosis at my doctor of these incredibly elevated blood test results in every area, from cholesterol to liver enzymes to my A1C, my blood pressure. Everything was on the rise big time. And I had to make a decision that this was going to be it. And in the past, there were times when I would remove it at my doctor's orders, a lot of the times when my liver enzymes would be up and she'd say, let's quit drinking for 3 weeks and come back and retest, and it was like, oh God, 3 weeks, right? And it was always like over a holiday or, that, oh my God, can I do it? And I would do it and I would feel incredible. And so this time around, it was higher than it ever been. And when it started seeping into my mental health, that was really like, okay, this is not good. This is clearly not working for me. I was never a person that struggled with depression or anxiety per se. I mean, looking back, I probably did, but when it started seeping into my brain and I was debating about whether or not I should get up in the morning, or what would it look like if I stayed in bed? That was like, oh my God, this is not you. And it's time to look at it.
Yeah. And so that journey, that day that you left the doctor's office, what else went through your brain? Like were you just like, what am I going to do? I'm going to do this. And how am I going to do it?
Yeah, it was, they take the blood tests and you get those results almost immediately. I got them like that night. So in the morning of the next day, I checked my chart and there they were. And that's black and white. There's no gray area with blood test results.
Right.
And I thought, okay, this is it. This has got to be it. I had to acknowledge, I have acknowledged in the past that I was not what you would consider a moderate drinker. I just never have been. I just wasn't built that way. And a lot of us that are trying to do this, we try and try and try to be that moderate drinker, right? It's like a holy grail that we want in our lives. And we want so badly to make it work, and we try. And maybe it does for a short time, but it always ramped up for me, and it
Mhm.
was usually worse than than what it was before. So
That's
what
kind of
then
what they always say is like once you stop and then you start again, it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah. I compare it a little bit to, like, someone who loses a bunch of weight, right? Maybe
Yeah.
someone loses 50 pounds because maybe they're doing, like, a fast diet, a liquid
Yeah.
diet. I had a mother that did this my whole life. I saw her lose a bunch of weight when it's not sustainable.
No.
So when she started eating again, she gained more, right?
Yep.
And I feel like it's similar with drinking. Like, if you don't do the work initially, then you're really liable to slip back into it, and then it is more. It just snowballs. So that day, I looked at those test results, and actually, I live in New York, and thus the sober New Yorker. And I would remember years ago, I was on the subway and I saw an ad that said something about an alcohol study through Columbia University. And my initial thought was, maybe I need to get involved in something like that. And I found them online. I emailed them. They called me back right away. And I went back months later and I looked at that email that I sent. They ended up not having any room in their program, and they said they'd get back to me, which they never did. But I looked at that email, and the last thing I said in that email was, "I am eager to start changing my life."
Oh, I like that word.
And that is exactly what it came down to. I was I had to do it. There were other things that I wanted to accomplish, and alcohol was the one thing preventing me from doing that. I wanted to be more active. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to feel like I had purpose.
Yeah.
And removing alcohol um, gave me a green light for so many other areas of my life.
I really like how you call it the gray area drinking because I feel like a lot of us are actually classified in that area because some of us don't technically hit that rock bottom. And I feel like I talk to a lot of people about this. It's like nothing happened to me. I didn't, get a DUI, I didn't get jail, I didn't get divorced. It just I was not a moderate drinker. I was
Right.
a binge drinker and everything revolved around alcohol. And I feel like that's so many people. And then they look at you like, oh, well, you had the problem. I think I just posted this today. They look
Mhm.
at you as, well, I didn't have a problem like you did. But yet their whole life is still revolved around alcohol.
Right.
And so they are those gray area drinkers as well. And they just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah, I think, alcohol use disorder is a spectrum. And I think what keeps a lot of us stuck in that gray area is that everyone else is doing it like that
Yep.
around us, and they're not facing any consequences. I've had people, just recently ask me, like, where were you? Basically, how bad was it? Right.
Right?
And here's the thing, I don't care how bad it is. You could be a binge drinker every night of the week, or you could have 1 to 2 glasses a night. That's my husband. No matter where you are, it's not about how much you're drinking, it's about how you feel once you remove it. I truly believe that, because the feeling of waking up every day as the same person you took to bed the night before, no embarrassment, no shame, no regret, no checking your text messages, no checking your bank account to see how much you spent because
Yeah.
woohoo, Melissa's out. She's a big time tipper. Um, there's just no greater feeling than the clarity and peacefulness that comes from day to day living like that. It's the ultimate life hack for me.
It really is.
Yeah.
Um, it I mean, I talked to so many people, and I've talked to people that went to AA, they've gone to rehab, they're an outpatient. Some of them have read, I'm gonna cross the authors, so I'm just gonna name the books. The Naked Mind,
Annie
and then
Grace, yeah, This
and then
Wicked Mind, yeah.
and then the other one, by Alan Carr.
Oh, Ways to Quit Drinking. Yeah,
I'm just terrible at, like,
that's
remembering
okay. I
names.
never read that one, but it is, yeah. He did the smoking one, which was also very successful for people, I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard too. But, like, all these people do these things, but then, like, some of us just had, like, a mindset shift, and it sounds like you had a mindset shift.
I totally had a mindset shift. I just told one of my clients recently, actually, that who struggles with cravings, that I didn't really have cravings when I removed it because I was so ready. It wasn't about should I drink or not. It was about I can't. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This has got to be it. You know, I mean, part of my story involves losing my best friend to it. I don't know if you know that. In April of 22, I lost my very best friend of 27 years to alcohol use
Oh, wow.
disorder. And after he passed, I gave myself the green light to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do, to eat whatever I wanted to eat, to drink whatever I wanted to drink. And subconsciously, I think I was doing that. It was like a last hurrah because I knew in August of 23 when I walked into that doctor's office, I knew that this was gonna be it. And what was my life gonna look like without it? And, yeah, so it's a lot of people. That gray area applies to a lot of people, and what keeps us stuck, I think, is because we are not as bad as so and so, right? We are not as bad. I mean, I live in New York City, like, the things I see on the street, right, would never, ever apply to me.
Right.
But yet here I was, picking up my bougie wine and sitting on my couch and enjoying it,
Because
right?
wine is considered classy, and we glamorize it, what is it, the mommy wine culture?
Yeah, yeah.
We all
It's
fall
just
into.
wine. Yeah, right. I mean, I'm not waking up in the morning and drinking. I'm not, driving and drinking. I'm waiting until 5 o'clock to open my wine. And so you get stuck in that. It's okay. Everyone else is doing it. And I really do feel like that is why a lot of people stay stuck. Even if they're not feeling so good inside. It's like to get to the point where you say, "Okay, this is it. This has gotta be it," um, was a major, major mindset shift for me.
And it took, if I remember right, it took just a few months to reverse all those blood tests.
It did.
Wow.
Like I wish I could say, that I mean, that is a big part of my story, like 11 weeks, actually, not even 3 months.
Wow.
My
And
doctor said, "If you do not make drastic behavioral changes, I will prescribe a statin for high cholesterol. There was a blood pressure medication in there. My A1C was getting close to diabetic range."
so then they try to give you Ozempic. No.
Well, I trust me, part of me, like, went into that because Ozempic and, Jardiance, the semaglutides, can be, um, used in alcohol addiction, to curb cravings. I actually
Oh,
went into my doctor with that news, that information, and she agreed, but because I wasn't diabetic, I wouldn't have qualified for it. Yeah, so that's a fun little fact that can be used, but, we talked about naltrexone, which is a drug used to curb alcohol cravings. We talked about all of this, But when it came down to it, I did not want to be a 51-year-old woman on a slew of medication because I couldn't give up my drink.
The most poisonous drug out there.
Exactly. I did not want that for my life. And there's a bit of a stubborn bitch in me that said,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this the old fashioned way. And I put on my shoes. I walked my ass off those first 3 months every day. I worked out more at my gym. I listened to podcasts. I listened to Quit Lit. I drank seltzer and water with lemon. I changed parts of my diet because I was like, I'm not going to just remove alcohol and start eating ice cream. Like my cholesterol was high.
Yeah.
So I cut back on things like cheese and dairy, and I added more vegetables and, just cleaner eating and moving my body. And I walked into that doctor's office 11 weeks later, and she thought I was taking Ozempic on the black market.
Really?
She said that.
That's awesome.
I had lost 27 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Every single number had reversed. My blood pressure was normal. My liver enzymes were normal. My cholesterol, 50 points off of my cholesterol.
Wow.
And my A1C, I was no longer even pre-diabetic, which is something I had for like 8-9 years previously. Nothing in that doctor's appointment made me think, I'm going to go home, I'm going to pick up some wine and celebrate these amazing numbers. It was like, I am doing this, and I am not going to stop now. And it was about that time, actually, it was about like a month before that. I was about 2 months into my journey, and I had a podcast on, and I heard someone talking about that she was an alcohol-free sober coach. And I thought, "Oh, that's a thing, you know? And if I would have known that was a thing, maybe I would have hired one years ago. I didn't even know it
Yeah.
was a thing. And so I made a note on the school, the certification program that you mentioned, and I went home and Googled it, and I started thinking around those lines very early in my journey, like 2 months in, that this is something I knew I could do. And I felt really I felt really strong about that. And when it came up in earlier this year, that there was a program that I found, and I went all in. And it's just now wrapping up. And I've been coaching since September, so
Wow.
only a few months. And it feels like exactly what I should be doing. Exactly. It brings me a lot of joy. It doesn't feel like work at all, and it really fires me up in the morning to help women make this decision.
Yeah. It's a rewarding uh like sharing our stories and being vulnerable is like rewarding and it helps us. I think it keeps us accountable also because we're helping other people.
Yes, 100%. I saw someone at Thanksgiving, and he asked about my sober Instagram, that it was pretty ballsy, which I agree. I mean, to put yourself out
Oh,
there,
I've had yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he said, is it a way to keep yourself accountable? And I said, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Almost everything I do in my life right now is to hold myself accountable. My podcast, my coaching, right? If I'm making the decision to be an alcohol-free life coach for people, I'm not going to drink. That
No.
can't happen, right? So it keeps me accountable. And that works for me. That is what works for me. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
That's amazing. I wanna go back to I was gonna ask you about the tools that you used, and I feel like so many of us and I did 75 hard, so, that's what I say helped me, but at the same time, like, everybody that I talked to did the exact same thing that has been successful in quitting drinking. The walking, the working out, the eating better, the seltzer waters, the listening or reading, like, those 5 things are absolutely, like, fail-proof almost because it's keeping you busy, you're feeling better, you're eating your mind is changing, and I don't think that a lot of people actually put like you said, like, you have it's hard work. You have to put the hard work into it, and those that don't want to put what do they say? Quitting is easy, staying sober is hard, or something like that.
Getting sober is easy. Staying sober is hard,
Yeah, and
I
it's so
believe.
true because, I mean, we can say, "Oh, I'm not gonna drink for a few days," but at the same time, uh, how many people try to control their drinking and just drink more? Like,
Right,
I'm not gonna drink Monday through Friday, but then binge drink Saturday, and it
right.
just is way I think that's unhealthier almost.
Yeah, I mean, when you start drawing boundaries around your drinking, right, there's probably something that is not okay with your relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. I would started doing that at your age. I was doing that in my early 30s, saying I'm not going to drink during the week, and then going for it on the weekend, and or yeah, drawing boundaries. I call it the mental gymnastics.
Mental
That
gymnastics, I like that.
it's just so draining to
Yeah.
think about it all the time. I'm gonna drink. I'm supposed to have 1 and then a glass of water, right? Or I'm only gonna have 2 drinks. Yeah, right.
Or you change your alcohol, like, say you are a vodka or whiskey drinker, "Oh, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
drink this anymore, I'm gonna just drink wine or beer." It's like, that's all the same,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah.
I've seen it happen too many times where people let go of a hard liquor and switch to beer, but then just end up going back to the hard liquor. I'm like, "That didn't do anything for you.
Right, right.
Just stay away from it."
Yeah, it's a process. I mean, I liked my wine. I really liked vodka too. I knew that I couldn't have it in the house, or it would just be gone.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of sugar in wine, and people used to say, "Well, you should just drink vodka. Don't drink wine. Vodka
Right?
vodka's healthier for you."
All of the excuses. Oh my gosh. Or, like, the light beers versus the dark beers, or, yeah, like,
Right,
clear
right.
liquors versus the dark liquors. Like, it's just it's mind-boggling how we justify alcohol.
Yeah. It's all noise. It's just noise. And to have a brain that's free and open and calm and without all of that is just is such an incredible place to be, because then it opens up to other amazing things in your life, like coaching and podcasting and Instagram, and like putting the word out, being an advocate for something you're super passionate about is really fun. I will say, like, when we talk about the tools, the ones you mentioned were definitely what I used, early on in those early weeks and months. The one tool that keeps me accountable to this day is having community. And
And yes.
that was something, because I've tried this before. Right before the pandemic, I had 4 months
I
of
read that.
yeah, I felt really good, and I was kind of, there was this group called 1 Year No Beer, and I was getting their emails and their videos, and it's a Facebook group, and, I was connected in a way, but I wasn't showing up on Zoom meetings where these other people are telling vulnerable stories and sharing wins and sharing struggles, and that is where I learned how to, really like do the emotional work of this. And every time I spoke, every time I shared, I felt a relief. I felt like a normal person just going through some shit
Yeah.
and doing something about it, showing up for myself.
That is exactly I always tell my community, like, I couldn't have done this without them because I created the community and then we created the community, like, those of us that have stayed connected, and then, like, meeting everybody along the way, has absolutely been amazing also, like, people I would have never like, I'm talking to you, like, there's people that I've never, you know, would have been connected with had I not been on this journey. And then it just goes to show, I like that saying, the people that you knew didn't support you, so I sent you strangers, like the universe. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
so true because
Yeah.
the people closest to us don't always support us. And, it takes the strangers that we are helping. They actually help us.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how your like family or friends dynamics have changed since you quit drinking because you said it didn't really affect your relationships.
It didn't really. I was always the heaviest drinker in my group of friends. And, when we go out now, it's like I realize that more and more because they can literally have 1 glass of wine. And that was never me. So, it doesn't bother me that they have a glass of wine. In
Yeah.
fact, it's good for me to still see that. Like, you are a normal drinker. The other day, I've been making more, like, in-person sober relationships being in New York, which has been really, really great. And a friend and I, we sat at dinner the other night and before we saw a show, and we talked about how sometimes you miss it. Right? You miss the being able to sit down and you notice it. Like I was looking at, people drinking beer and wine and you notice it, but my brain always goes to it would never be that just one. And
No.
here sitting next to us, this table next to us, these two young women, they had half a glass of wine that didn't move the whole time they were sitting there. And I said to my friend, I was like, "Lindsay, you see that those glasses have not moved." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "That's not us."
No.
And if it was us, we would never have met each other. Like that, the way that I spin it right now, which is just it makes me so happy. It's like we are not a normal moderate drinker.
No.
And if we were, I never would have been sitting there at this table with this incredible new friend I made. I would never be sitting here with you, getting to know you. Um, so like wrapping your head around it that way, it's opened up just some incredible friendships, relationships, feelings, because the people in the squares or in the rooms, whatever your community is, get it. They get
Mhm.
it. And I've got very supportive friends. I've got a supportive family. I don't expect them to get it and be my biggest cheerleaders. I do expect them to respect it, and I do.
Like, respect is key. I'm glad that they don't have to
Yeah.
understand it. They
No.
have to respect it.
I agree, and I actually had to get to the point where I had to have that conversation with my dad, because I just wasn't feeling supported by it, and this happened over the summer, and I actually did say that, and part of it is that it might be a little too close to home. His father died of alcoholism. His brother died of alcoholism at 48 years old.
Wait,
Um,
like, your dad's
my
brother?
uncle, yeah, my uncle.
Wow.
So I need him to understand that a generational trauma exists, and I don't need him to be my biggest cheerleader. I don't need him they don't even they don't even know what Instagram is really, like
Uh,
I
well,
don't need
it is nice hearing them say, "I'm proud of you," but then you
right.
see them, like, saying they're proud of this has actually happened, like, they say they're proud of somebody else that had lost weight, and then I'm
Right.
like, "But I'm, like, sitting here, like, changing my ways and quit
Yeah.
drinking," but, like, my family like, my grandma is, like, "Absolutely," like, "I'm so proud of you," but, I mean,
Mhm.
it's the respect thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's, like,
Respect
so
it. Respect that I'm making this decision for my health, for my life. And honestly, since I had that conversation with them, there's been growth in that area, which is really nice, to hear.
I feel like when we were drinking heavy, boundaries didn't exist, and then when we quit drinking, we learned this little thing called boundaries, and
Mhm.
then some people just cannot accept or respect them. and then they turn it against, like, you're the bad person, you are judging them and you don't accept them, but yet it's just simple boundary that
Right,
you should have had in place, like, years ago,
right.
but that's a hard one.
I love the concept of boundaries because if people are upset with the boundaries you are setting, it means that they were getting away with it when you
Yes.
weren't setting them,
Oh. Oh, that's a good
right?
one.
They
Yeah.
were getting away with it because you were letting it happen. You were letting them get away with it. Now, all of a sudden, you set boundaries and it doesn't suit them, and it causes people to get prickly.
Yeah.
I'll say the same thing about authenticity. When people start living their most authentic lives, as we do when we remove this substance from our life, a lot of things come into clear focus. When we start living authentically, people that were taking advantage of us not living authentically get their feathers
Their
their
panties in a
feathers.
bunch.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's okay. That's gonna happen. You're gonna find out who your real friends are. You're gonna find out who's got your back and who you can count on. And there's gonna be some relationships that are gonna fall by the wayside, and I think it's okay. I think it is. Yeah.
I felt like because maybe we lose some, but maybe we reconnect with some, but then we also meet new people along the way. Like you said, like meeting sober people, and then like you would have never had that connection with that person. And it's authentic. It's like you didn't meet at a bar drunk and create a friendship off of that. You created a friendship off of a clear mind,
Yeah.
which
Exactly.
I think is more valuable.
100%. I mean, like, sitting down and having real conversations with people and really listening and engaging instead of, my friend calls it prairie dogging, at a restaurant when you're constantly looking for the waiter to bring you your next drink, there's no authentic connection when your mind is so occupied with, "When am I gonna get my next drink?"
Yep.
It's so beautiful, the connection to share genuine connection with people.
It really is. And I think
It
a lot of
is.
people don't realize that alcohol is such a negative impact in relationships, and or some people just don't want to see it,
Yeah.
or like, wow. Can you tell us more about your coaching approach and how you guide people to live an alcohol-free life?
Oh, yes, I love this subject. My coaching approach is I will meet you where you are, and there's absolutely no shame in your game. It is not a linear process, right? So we sit down, one of the first things we talk about is limiting beliefs. I love that subject. Love it, love it, love it. I have an ear for it. Like a singer has an ear for a wrong note. I will hear limiting beliefs. I'll hear them from random strangers. My mother's full of them. Um, and it's like, oh, that's a limiting belief. And two of the biggest ones that come from my clients when they first start with me, how will I have fun without alcohol?
Yeah.
Right? How will I de-stress without alcohol? Those are the two biggest limiting beliefs. So when clients come to me with those, I'm like, "Ooh, yes, like, that is good." And then we are just gonna, like, dissect it all, because limiting beliefs are meant to be broken down and broken through and proven false.
Mhm.
Um, I say, let's have a goal. I have if you want to come to me for 3 months, I'm not going to say, okay, let's look at from here to 90. No, I'm going to say, what do you think? Where are you? Are we looking at a 3-day goal? Are we looking at a 14-day goal? And work get the tools in the tool belt and continually add them and get through day by day. One of the very first things I like to do with my clients is I like to have them write a breakup letter to alcohol.
Ooh, that's a good one.
and I have them read it out loud. And I never have anyone read it without crying.
Wow. That gives me goosebumps.
Because you can write these things down. You're right, when you voice them out loud, when you voice them to someone that is invested in you,
Mhm.
it's very emotional. It's very, you hear yourself, right? And then I'm like, you take that letter, you take a screenshot of it, you put it on your phone screensaver, your computer screensaver, you print it out and put it down. Like, they're just all sorts of little tips and tools to the trade. And I always tell my clients, I will cheer for you. I will believe in you until you believe in yourself. And that's we go through it. We figure it out week by week, day by day, and it brings me so much joy when I have a client that hits 30 days, hits 60
Yeah.
days. It's like when they start feeling, they're sleeping better, they're feeling calmer, more present. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah. And it's just so rewarding getting the messages like, "You've helped me. I'm 15 months because of you. I'm 9 months because of you." Like, it's such a rewarding thing. And having those tools and having an accountability, like, sober coach, like, is so key, and I wish more people would take it seriously.
I wish they would too, and, because it comes down to this, I'm good, buddies with Brad McLeod at the Sober Motivation podcast and community. I actually am a group coach over at Sober Motivation Community. I can talk about that in a minute. But I just talked to him today and, because I have, like, discovery calls where people can't quite commit, and he said, it's one of those things, it's so hard to ask for help for something like this. But what if you got a flat tire on the road, right? What if you wanna get in shape? You're gonna ask a trainer at your gym. You're gonna ask for someone. What if you need help organizing a PowerPoint? Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna ask for help in so many other ways, so many other areas of your life, and for some reason, it's really hard for people to say, "Okay, I need help. I
Yeah.
need help." And breaking through that, so when I meet with someone and maybe they're not quite ready, I really it's okay. You wanna feel like you can do this on your own? Give it the old freshman try. I'm gonna be here. And, oftentimes they circle back and, wanna start up again. And if they don't, I wish them well, because but making that first, impulse to reach out to someone, that's the hardest step. That's the hardest step, to admit that you need help. And then what have you got to lose? I mean, we invest, our money in so many other stupid areas, right? Think about how
Like
many
alcohol.
street yeah, alcohol for sure. But we've got streaming channels. Everything's on a different subscription. We've got, there's just so much garbage that we
Yeah.
invest in. And when we invest in ourselves, I'm like, put a little skin in the game. If that's gonna keep you accountable, right? Put some skin in the game and let's get this thing going. Let's gain some momentum, see where we can go.
I think them coming to us for help is so key because people have to want the help. Because I've had people be like, "Well, why isn't she helping this person or that person?" I'm like, "'Cause they haven't asked me for help. They don't want help."
Right.
Like, you can't force somebody to quit drinking
No.
even though they're beyond. I mean, I'm not gonna say anybody's beyond help, but, like, some people need a little more work,
Right. Yeah.
and they have to ask for the help because it's not just gonna be like, "Oh, you should listen to this and then you'll be
Right.
fixed."
Right. And at the end of the day, I can lead. I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
I can't do it for you. All I
That's
can do is lead.
Yeah. I can't hold your hand every single
Mm.
day, but you have to take the responsibility for your own actions,
Exactly.
and that's for the
Exactly.
help.
That's why I love, have you read Push Off From Here, Laura McCown?
No.
She wrote, We Are the Luckiest. Oh, check it out. Push off from here. She has a thing, it sucks that this is your thing, and it's your thing, so it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's a good one. I'll have to
it's a good one. Yeah.
listen to it. So you said you talked to the sober motivation guy?
Oh, yeah. So that's one of my communities. I've been a part of Sober Motivation. It used to be Sober Buddy. They disbanded over the summer, September 1st. And so Brad McLeod at Sober Motivation podcast, I did his podcast earlier in the summer. And
Is he the
uh,
bodybuilder?
no.
Okay, sorry. There's another guy that is a big sober.
I read that. I wasn't tell him that. No, he's a regular guy in Canada with an amazing story himself. And he's been sober like 15 years or something. And we have a community. It's an online community. And I am a coach there. I'm a group coach there every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anyone's listening and wants to check it out, we have a free month to offer
Okay.
for anyone who wants to hop on a meeting and check it out. There are three of us, three coaches, and then there are peer-led meetings as well. And
I'll have you send me that information.
yeah, I will for sure. But yeah, it's one of my communities, and the other one is an all-female community, Soba Sisters, Megan Wilcox. And I've been
I just talked to her, or I kind of talked to her. I've been following her.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, if you want to, mention my name to her if you reach out again.
Yeah.
And she's been great, and I stay plugged into those communities still because I think, when you get going along and you feel good, right? That's when things can get a little rocky when you are feeling so confident and strong. So I don't go to a meeting every day, but I stay plugged in to a couple a week at least, and it makes me feel good in the sense that there are people just starting out, right? And there are people that say, "Ah, God, I'm on day 16. Why can't it go faster?" I'm like, if it went faster, you wouldn't be doing it. If it went faster, you wouldn't look back and realize how hard it was. And, so it goes slow. It's hard work because when you get to 90 days, when you get to 100 days, you don't want to go back to that beginning. That's the hardest part. The first few weeks is the hardest part. So why, stay with it, stick with it. You don't give up. You can't give up.
No.
You got to keep going. You got to keep the wheels in motion.
One question is, how do you coach people through the urges? Not necessarily the craving, but like the urge.
I have them, one of the first things we talk about is making a list of things to do. I like them to come up with 10 things to do in the moment when that urge strikes, right? Let it come in. Don't try to shut it out. That's just gonna let it come in. Get curious about it. There's the acronym HALT, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Are you one of those things right now? Like, ask yourself, because I know that has happened to me. I've been with this stress. Oh, an urge comes in. I'm hungry. Usually that's it for me.
Right?
So acknowledge, maybe you're one of those four. And have your list of 10 things that you can do instead of giving in to drinking, right? Box breathing. I love box breathing.
Mm-hmm.
In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Take a walk, do some push-ups, move your body, right? Put on a podcast. Like, you have to have those things at your disposal, ready to go.
Exactly. I love that. I love like the acronym HALT because I think that can go for a lot of parts of our lives, not just the alcohol urges.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
uh, absolutely amazing. So what's next for you? Like, what um do you have upcoming projects or anything big and fun?
I have a lot of big and fun stuff coming up. I think through doing my coaching and being a guest on many podcasts, doing my own podcasts, I have really felt the calling to pursue a public speaking career.
I was gonna ask you about that. That is amazing.
Thank you. I feel so driven to craft a speech or speeches
Mhm.
towards living an alcohol-free life. And I'm currently in a program with coaches and peers, and I'm doing it all. It's through the Speaker Lab, and it's been really exciting. I just joined. I'm only like 6 weeks in. It's like a 7 month program, and I would love to be a speaker who coaches. I see myself, getting back on stage. I was on stage years ago in
Really?
yes, in theater.
Okay. So
So
you have that confidence already, or a little
I
bit of it.
I have that won't be the difficult part for me. I don't anticipate. I will, once you've done that, it's like riding a bike. It's like it comes back, that, "Oh, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
This feels like a normal place for me to be." That is hard for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
mean, public speaking is the number one
Terrifying.
fear,
Yeah.
even before death. That's like a fact. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, but for me, I'm diving in. It really makes me excited. It gets me fired up.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I go to concerts and I'm like, I can picture myself talking to this crowd about alcohol. Um, that is a goal of mine also. But like I love
Great.
that you bring that up. Public speaking and coaching, like being on stages, helping others get sober and bettering their life. Like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So that is my 2025 goal is to, really start putting myself out there and see what happens and who I can, you know, touch, from the
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah. We went like influencers that connect with people. I mean, you can be an influencer and not connect with anybody. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
I've met so many people through this, and most everybody is absolutely phenomenal. Um, but it's like we went to an Ed Milet conference, and he literally had us all in tears. And if you listen to Ed Milet, he just connects with you, and it's
Yeah.
like people. I mean, I feel like people like me and you are very similar to him. We can connect with people. We can you know, just that connection, I feel, and helping people and not in a, rude, condescending way either. It's like we
Right.
can get the word out and help people and just keep sharing, and it does take a community of people like me and you and, your communities that you're a part of, and, like, all of us growing together and helping each other, I think is so key to getting this alcohol like,
Yeah. Yeah.
thing behind us.
If you are an authentic person, if you are tapping into your true authenticity, people see that
Yeah.
and they want it and they want to hear it. They want to be in it. They want to know more. And because that's one of the biggest comments I get from, people I start working with, people I know. You're so real.
Yeah.
You're so
Yeah.
authentic. And I'm like, I don't know what other way to be. But,
Exactly.
there are people that will take on an air, a sophistication,
Mhm.
bullshit, really.
Right, yeah.
I don't know what other way to be, and if this is working, which I really do believe it is, then I'm just gonna keep going and
Yeah.
doing more of it.
I will have to say not everybody that I reach out to is warm and friendly like you. Like just a small percent are like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And then it's like, "Yes, we're all in the same, field of helping people." Like, why be like, maybe I don't know if I have time." It's like, "No, we're here to share
Right,
our stories and
right.
like help each other and like, you know, maybe nobody on my page knew who you were, but now maybe you'll get some clients, you know? And like
Exactly.
maybe like it just you never know. Like
Exactly.
who story is going to touch somebody that you couldn't. Like what if I couldn't touch somebody, but then
Right.
you could touch somebody and like change their life. Like I just think
Yeah.
it's so super key to just being involved with each other.
I do too. I really do too. I feel the exact same way.
Yes. I've loved having you on. Can you tell us where you can find us? And then for my listeners, you guys can find it in the description. Make sure you subscribe so you can get the notification when this goes live. And where can we find you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This has really been a great way to spend a Monday afternoon. You can find me on Instagram at the Sober New Yorker. I have a podcast, the same name, the Sober New Yorker podcast, and I have a website, thesobernewyorker.com. I'm
Across the
going with
board.
that brand. It is my brand. Like there's no changing it now. I feel fortunate that for some reason the universe said in the Instagram world that that was available as a handle. I don't know how or why, it was just meant to be, but I am the Sober New Yorker everywhere you can find me. But on my website, I do have a freebie. I have a free guide to the first 30 days being alcohol free, what worked for me. So you can, download that and you can get on my mailing list. I try to put a newsletter out. I'm not as good as I should be, but
I don't think people realize how much work this actually is.
it's a lot of work. It's a
It's not
lot of
just
work.
like you post on one platform and then it goes to all of the other ones. It's like, no, you
Yeah.
have to like hit every single platform.
Yeah, it is. And if your technology, I mean, I will say that, like, that's probably been the biggest game changer for me personally. The fact that I, as a 53-year-old woman, am figuring out technology is like, you want to sing it from the mountaintops. I mean, it is a work in progress still. And there are some things where I'm like, oh no, that just needs to be taken care of by someone else. Otherwise it'll take me all day. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and I would love to connect with you. If you're on Instagram, send me a message. I love to hear from people, and thanks again for having me, Megan.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.